of ginger cake patterns and design. And last week I taught you how to make masks, and make sure to check that video out up here, which are it's very important right now. And that's a really easy tutorial. But I also wanted to, recognize that we are in springtime and still sewing for fun. And next week is Easter and everything that goes along with it, along with spring in general. So this week I'm going to show you how to make these cute little chicks. Isn't that fun? Now this is a project from my book Pretty Birds, which you can purchase on my website. I am going to give you the pattern to make this on my blog. You can just click over there and you can download the pattern for free. But if you want to do more of these cute little birds, you can find them here in my book. I have an owl, I have this fairy wren that I taught you how to make. This is the fairy wren, and then that video is up here. There's a seagull, there's a woodpecker, there's 18 birds to sew with scrap fabrics. So be sure to check that out on my website. It's $15 and free shipping to the United States. Also, I'm having a sale of my PDF patterns. All of my patterns are only $5 right now, to kind of ease any financial burdens we might be having. And then if you get 3, they are 20% off. So all my patterns, crayon holders, backpacks, duffel bags, train cases, only $5. But let's get started making birds, making this cute little chick. This is so fun and easy, and I think it'll be so adorable in an Easter basket or decorating your table. Here is my little basket I made, and this little basket is another video up here, and I shrunk it down 30% to make this little holder for my chicks. So let's begin. Okay, using your yellow scraps, you can cut out your pattern pieces from the blog, printed out from the blog. Here, instead of using wool felt, you cut out my circle from regular fabric and added fusible interfacing. But first thing you're going to do is add the wings to the body piece. And you just do that by placing them on. If you're feeling nervous about getting it just right, you can use this little trick I do sometimes. Just place it, use the piece of paper, and then it places it just right. Or just eyeball it, which also works. See? That works fine too. And next thing you're going to do is zigzag stitch the wings onto the pattern piece, onto the body piece. I'll be right back. Okay, here I have the wings. I have to just clip a couple threads here. I have the wings zigzag stitched on. You can see that it's a little messy, but I kind of like the texture. You can this one I did a little bit closer, the stitches. I made them a little smaller. The other thing to do is to use Steam a Seam Light, just like you would do with applique, and that, would eliminate that. I like the texture of the zigzag stitch though. So we're going to sew the darts on the head to give it a little extra body. Just put them right sides together, sew straight down right there. Okay, the darts are sewn on, and you need to there's the dart, and you need to just use your scissors to open up that dart a little bit. Clip that seam down, and finger press that seam out. I do a lot of finger pressing on these just because, it's sort of a pain to use the iron on such little stuff, and finger pressing works okay. Then place the 2 pieces together, and you're going to sew them right sides together. Just make sure to line everything up, starting with those darts on the top of the head. So you sew 1 inch down there, and then sew all the way around the perimeter of the piece. And 1/4 inch seam allowance is included in these pattern pieces. So the 1 inch at the base, then leave a few inches opening to turn it inside out, and then around the perimeter. Now I left the opening kind of right at the front of the chick, but I did that because the back side is curved and that front is the straightest edge. And I thought, even though it looks, you'll be able to see that opening stitch, I think it looks better than trying to stitch on that curve in the back. Okay, all stitched. And next step. So I'm going to clip my corners here. Clip that open so it looks better when you stuff it. And just do a little trim of the seam allowance, not too much, you don't need to. And then a little notch here on the other side of the head. Okay, turn it right side out to check in, make sure everything looks good. Looking good. You see that nice little shape there. And the next thing we're going to do is hand sew on the base. So turn it back right side out and grab your base piece. I kind of like to fold it in half and finger press again, and this shows me the right down the. And this will show you how to, easily will help you put this. The crease goes on the seams, so the circle is evenly spaced, because you are going to hand sew the base on. You could try to sew it with your machine, but I think the hand sewing is a lot easier with such a little piece. So one pin at the one seam, another pin at the other seam, and then a couple more pins on the sides, and then you hand sew it on. Okay, here I have my needle and my thread. I like to put my needle kind of in the middle of my thread and double the thread up, and then tie a knot at the end. Now this means that your needle doesn't fall off, but you also can't take the needle out and start over like if you make a mistake. So it's kind of a balance there. And just head right in on any side and start doing a running stitch here, in and out, and here it is done. That should take you about 5 minutes. So open it up, turn the piece right side out, it's a little tight, but you don't want that opening to be too big. And then I use my fingers here to really roll out this seam on the bottom. Sometimes there's like a little bit that didn't get sewn under with the hand stitching. You just kind of poke that under with your fingers, or you could even use a pin to poke that under, and roll that seam so it's fully extended. And poke the top out. Again, kind of roll those seams open. Okay, and here's the opening, and again, I finger press the opening closed. So the heat of your fingers will kind of give the fabric some memory, and you'll be able to sew that together easily. And now for the stuffing. Just going to stuff it full. Takes a little bit more stuffing than you would think, such a small piece. But just take your time and get it nice and full. Now it's stuffed, and we're going to hand sew the opening closed. I call this a ladder stitch. Some other people call it, I forget what someone else, they've made comment that it's called, but you basically just tie a knot. Again, I like to double up my thread, tie a knot at the end, and then hold the seams together, or hold the sides together, and make a little ladder up and down. Don't pull too tight, or it'll make it even more obvious. But it needs to be, bring the pieces together, the fabric sides together. Try to use coordinating thread. And here is sewing the beak on. Fold this piece of wool felt together along the straight edge, and just start at the tip and sew back and forth with what I call the ladder stitch. Should take about 4 or 5 stitches. And then the beak goes, let me do one more here, and the beak goes with that seam you just made, kind of goes on the bottom, and you line it up with the seam of your chick. And then I do like a hem stitch here. One thing, if you want to skip this, guess what, you can glue gun this on. but I think it's pretty quick just to sew it on. And a hem stitch, you go in and out. It only takes about 4 or 5 of these little, I call this a hem stitch, where you kind of go in and then diagonal across. Don't pull too tight. And then make your knot and close it off. Okay, next on to the eyes. Okay, for the, oh, I'm just going to finish my knot here. Okay, now I went ahead and marked with a pencil the eyes. Listen, you can use a Sharpie or a fabric marker and just make a couple eyes. But I like to do a little embroidery, a little French knot eye. I think that's fun and easy. Don't feel obligated to do this, though, if you're ready to be done with this little chickie. So you need to tie a knot at the end of your 3 strands of the embroidery thread, divided in half. And, oh, here I'm just fixing my, and you come in through the top seam and you give it a gentle pull, and that will get the knot behind the eye. Then 3 loops, 1, 2, 3, and insert the needle into the thread only about like 1/8 of an inch or less away. And then what I'm doing here is trying to poke it through the other side exactly to come out on the other eye. If you can see that. And that makes a little French knot, which I think is the perfect size eye for my little chick. And I've cut my threads out on the other side. And then 1, 2, let's start over. 1, 2, 3 loops, and then go in about less than 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch probably away from where you started, and pull it through. See? Isn't that cute? And here, this is a little technique to kind of tie off the end. Just make a knot, and then try to poke your needle into that same opening where you just came out. And through, just pull it out anywhere, give it a gentle tug, and there it's erased. See? And now the thread is knotted in there so that it can't be, the eye can't be pulled out. And clip, and then it's like totally gone. Isn't it cute? It's all finished, guys. You did it. Put it in the basket with the others. So there you go. There is the, that's how you make these little chicks. And again, I made 5. I've made a lot more than that, but I've kind of given them away over the years. But these 5 I just kind of made getting prepared for this video. And they're so fun. I would make a bunch at once if you could. And just use your yellow scraps. Have a great time and have a wonderful spring. And I hope everybody stays safe and healthy, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Again, you can find this in my book, Pretty Birds, along with all these other cute bird projects. Thanks, you guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.